Good evening and welcome. The big story breaking right now on Times Now on the Newshour Agenda. The big development is the arrest of Showik Chakraborty and Samuel Miranda. According to sources, Riya's brother and Sushant's house manager were both arrested after a sustained grilling, but not before Showik admitted to getting drugs into the Sushant Singh Rajput household on the request of his sister Rhea. Further, sources tell us that Rhea Chakraborty will now be called for questioning by the NCB on Sunday, and the big question is if the arrest of Rhea is also imminent after her questioning. But first, before we go any further, I want you to take a look at how this circle worked and why the arrests today are important. This is how the NCB sleuths finally reached Samuel Miranda and Showik Chakraborty. The first person arrested is Showik, Riya's brother. Sources say he's admitted that he got drugs on Riya's prodding. He got these drugs from Basit Parihar, a man who was arrested earlier, who Showik had met at a football club. They became thick friends and attended several parties together. Basit was interrogated on the 2nd of September. He's the one responsible for introducing Showik to another peddler, Zaid Vilatra, who was arrested on Wednesday. And Showik then took Zaid to Samuel Miranda. So this is how it worked. You had Showik, who was friends with Basit. Basit introduced him to Zaid, and Zaid was introduced by Showik to Samuel Miranda. Samuel Miranda shows up in Zaid's call data records once Zaid was arrested by the NCB. That is how the Narcotics Control Bureau then got to Samuel Miranda and Showik Chakraborty. There was simply no denying and running away at that point.
Formal process of arrest is underway, number one. Number two, the decision of the arrest of Showik and Miranda has been taken. यही चीज़ अगर Showik और Miranda के arrest का decision हो चुका है, उनका formal process जो कि as per rules दिया जाता है, वो formal process में उनके घर वालों को communicate किया जाएगा. Within an hour हम formal communication भी कर देंगे कि उनके घर वालों को बता दिया गया. तो यही क्रक्स है. किसी को भी अरेस्ट करने के बाद उसे कोर्ट में प्रोड्यूस करना पड़ता है. अंडर द सेम प्रोविजन इनको भी कोर्ट में प्रोड्यूस करना पड़ेगा. कल इनको कंसर्न कोर्ट में.
All right, and joining us live from Mumbai, we've got Siddhant, Tamal and Mohit all tracking what has been happening. I want to go across first to Siddhant, and that's the big breaking coming in right now. And PMLA sources, Siddhant, have told you that Rhea Chakraborty's phone has been cloned. Her apparent involvement in the purchase, possession, sale, consumption of contraband covered under NDPS Act is visible. This is massive because now sources are telling Times Now that it's not just Showik where the drug trail ends. Rhea Chakraborty could well be very firmly in the Narcotics Bureau's net very soon. Siddhant.
That's absolutely right, Padmaja. Rhea is under Narcotics Bureau's lens, and because today also during in course of an investigation, it was Samuel Miranda informing us involved in the same. Showik himself has confirmed Rhea's involvement. Not just that, Padmaja, phone dump data analysis, which was shared by the Narcotics Control Bureau, all
okay, we'll try and fix the line with Siddhant in just a bit. Very unfortunate that we are having a problem with his audio. But the big news also coming in right now of the sections under which Showik and Samuel Miranda have been arrested. Tamal, take us through those sections and what they mean. Showik and Samuel are arrested under the NDPS Act. Over to you, Tamal.
Well, that's right, Padmaja. Even as you speak, getting all the details, Showik and Samuel arrested under Section 8C 2829 of NDPS Act. Now, you know, in the morning when Showik Chakraborty was brought down to the NCB office, he did not really speak to us. But then it essentially means these sections, now that he has been confirmed arrested, the sections mean punishment for attempts to commit offences. Whoever attempts to commit any offence punishable under the chapter or cause, such offence to be committed, and in such attempt does any act towards the commission of the offence shall be punishable with the punishment provided for the offence. For the viewers' consumption and for their understanding, it essentially means that people who had knowledge of the transaction, trade of drugs, had participated, had indulged in the transaction, they are booked under these laws. Now, Padmaja, yes, it is extremely significant that Showik Chakraborty has been arrested along with Samuel Miranda. And as you rightly put the chain, for the viewers, the chain indicates that Showik Chakraborty at one point became the center point of the entire nexus which was operating. You have Samuel Miranda, who had access to Sushant Singh Rajput's house. You have Showik Chakraborty, in capacity of being Rhea Chakraborty's own brother, had access to Sushant Singh Rajput. And Showik Chakraborty has now admitted that, yes, he had used Rhea Chakraborty's credit card for payments. Payments made to who? Payments made to Samuel Miranda. Payments made to syndicate. And these payments were done over darknet. Also, very important, Padmaja, we have also learned that Basit Parihar and Zaid have taken instructions from Showik Chakraborty. So the big question is, can all this happen without the knowledge of Rhea Chakraborty? Did Rhea Chakraborty know nothing that her credit card was used, that Showik Chakraborty had introduced Zaid Viltara to Samuel Miranda, that Basit Parihar has been taken to Bollywood parties? And why would Showik Chakraborty have access to Bollywood parties? Why? Because he had used Sushant Singh Rajput. So at one point, it is fair to even imagine that Sushant Singh Rajput could have objected to this nefarious nexus and their activities, and possibly that's where the friction started. So
this is very, very interesting. Financial and digital trail is what nailed Showik, and the big story that we are breaking right now, and I again want to reiterate that, is that Rhea Chakraborty, who's been called on Sunday, is in deep, deep trouble, Mohit Sharma, because sources are telling Times Now that her phone is a dead giveaway. Rhea Chakraborty earlier has said in interviews, I had nothing to do with drugs. I had no idea. I was trying to get Sushant to quit drugs. She said he's the one who used to smoke weed. I'm the one who kept saying, leave it, leave it, leave it. Her phone contents seem to suggest otherwise. Mohit. All right, we can't seem to get it right with the reporters. We'll try and go back to Siddhant and Mohit Sharma in just a bit. But let me also get in our panel right now while we try and fix that. Joining us is Rajiv Pandey, Varun Singh, briefing lawyer in the Sushant Singh Rajput case, Sushant's friend Ganesh Hivarkar, Mamta Kale, political analyst, activist Rahul Ishwar, law and political analyst Manaswi Thapar, political analyst Sundar Balakrishnan, and Shivsena supporter G. Radhakrishnan. But I want to first go across to Varun Singh because, you know, everyone says, Varun Singh, that this is a farce. It started out with a murder investigation and now everyone's going crazy about a drug investigation. How is this even related to Sushant's death? Varun Singh.
So actually, if you look at it, as we started off saying that the FIR is only is just a first information report, in the sense that it only gives you a certain narration of alleged offences. It's not like a civil case, right, where you set out the entire set of facts and based on which the case is made out. In a case of in a criminal case, only when you give the information, after that when investigation begins, there could be several other offences which could be attached to the same incident. Here, if you remember, in our FIR, we've also mentioned things like that there has been a lot of inducement of substance which we made it medicine, but it could be otherwise as well, right? Because in the investigation, a lot of things can come out to show that if there could be any inducement of any kind of narcotic substance as well in his life, which to gain control. And not only that, even if be that or may not be the case, the fact that these things are coming out, I'm sure the premier agency which is looking into it, they have very cogent reasons to investigate it, and it's not going to be easy for them because as your reporter was also quoting the offences, this is a very stringent act. Bails are not easy, and if it's commercial quantity, then jail time could be up to 20 years. So it's a very, very serious offence.
Here's something for everyone who was in, the innocence brigade, that this is a witch hunt, this is a media trial. Now what do you have to say? Here we have now now an investigation by agencies who say that, and I'm going to quote, here's what sources are telling us, that the mobile phone of Rhea Chakraborty has been cloned, her apparent involvement in purchase, possession, sale, consumption, transportation and usage of contraband under NDPS Act is visible, and the sections, like Varun Singh said, can invite jail of 20 years. Rahul Ishwar?
Padmaja ji, as you rightly said, in the NDPS Act, they are charged, at least these two people are charged under 20B, 28, 27. But please remember, nothing proves murder of this. Please remember, these are two different cases.
Sir, I started out by asking Varun Singh, how is this investigation relevant to Sushant's death? And that's the whole point. You've got Sushant's family saying that there were drugs being brought into the house, that he may have been plied with drugs. Now that particular argument gets buttressed by what is happening.
Yeah. Padmaja ji, right now, do we have any evidence connecting these two? No. In the public domain, is there
Varun
any
Singh,
evidence?
there is no connection between the two.
No.
Varun Singh, so there are people who are still saying this is bad behavior. Rahul Ishwar goes on record and says this is bad behavior. You know, party kids. What does this have to do with the murder? Varun Singh.
No. One has to understand that if there was no case, then these cases would have not been registered and the premier agencies wouldn't have gone this far. And the matter is still very much at the investigation stage. To come to such an understanding even now, when people are being arrested, to say that there is nothing, even link it now, it's not only premature, it will be very incorrect for anyone to say that. So you'll have to wait it out what statements are getting, what.
There is nothing as of in public domain or either by anything like Narcotics
No,
Control Bureau,
sir, whenever I said they're arrested for murder, I don't understand.
Yeah,
I'm not.
exactly.
Let me make my statement. You can respond to it whenever you want to.
These are two different cases.
Sir, whether
Mr. Ishwar, if I'm not mistaken, 2 weeks ago, before the drug chats came out, you were sitting here and saying that people who are as innocent as driven snow are being dragged through mud. Now at least you've reached a point where you're conceding that there is an involvement in the consumption, possession and distribution of drugs. So wait for the investigation, sir. Wait for the investigation.
Exactly. And right now there is nothing in the public domain that can suggest that it is a murder.
Sir, sure. But 2 weeks ago there was nothing in the public domain which suggested any kind of wrongdoing. At that time you were going blue in the face saying this is a media trial against innocent people. Wait, the dots will be put together. And if we had believed you at that time, this would have been closed as a suicide case. But we are at a point now where 6 people have been arrested.
See, you have brought out a different drug charge, which is very important. We should have a war on drugs at the same point of time. It is still a suicide or a murder is not decided. So these two are different cases, only connected with the people who are involved.
Okay, Varun Singh rebuttal, and then I want to open this up. Yes, Varun Singh.
Yes. So murder or suicide, irrespective, these issues are something very, very serious, and murder or suicide, irrespective, if this has been used for either one of them, he can't say with assurance that it is not. So what is the reason for him to be so agitated about it at this stage? There are so many cogent offences which are coming out. That's something which is definitely, and if channels like you who have had a close scrutiny on this entire incident, that we have come to such a stage. And now to say that no, there is no link together, it's not only premature, I think it's completely erroneous. One has to wait, hold their hands. If so many things are coming out, I'm sure there could be enough instances to show what it is actually. If you look at it, it's actually adding up to the entire story, for the reason that our entire case is that there could be inducement, and if there is inducement of this kind as well, then of course there will be direct link. But to say right now,
okay, that's big news coming in right now. Deepesh Sawant, the entire net of innocent people is now being cracked wide open, Sundar Balakrishnan, and the next person who has been summoned now by the NCB is Dipesh Sawant. Sundar Balakrishnan, Mamta Kale, these are people who were in the house, people who had close access to Sushant Singh Rajput, Samuel Miranda, who was his housekeeper, who said there was nothing amiss at all, and today he has been arrested for the possession and for administering of drugs. This is not only about personal consumption, Sundar Balakrishnan. This is about peddling of drugs. And the next person who is being summoned, Sundar Balakrishnan, is Deepesh Sawant. Who is Deepesh Sawant? Why is he important? Deepesh Sawant is the first of the 3 people who had seen Sushant after he was found dead. 3 people opened the door to Sushant's room. Deepesh Sawant was one of them. Sundar Balakrishnan. Are we still going to say that this is a witch hunt?
Yeah, see, Padmaja, I'll tell you. One thing is, as everybody has been saying, I'm getting an echo, Padmaja, can you please?
Yes, we'll fix it. Please go on. Give me 10 seconds, we'll fix it. Go on, finish your point.
Yeah, so if I want to make it, one thing is the drug angle, okay? Nobody in this panel will support the drug consumption, okay? One thing is that. Second, to prove that it is a murder or a homicide is a way long period, okay? Now, coming to this particular drug, whether he was fed, whether he was taking on his own. Now, there is a statement of Neeraj, who is a cook from the Sushant Singh's house, who has given a statement to the Mumbai Police saying that he used to roll marijuana for him, okay? And 4 days before the death. And when on 8th, Rhea left the Sushant's house, that time she called up the doctor and she said, saying that he is having very panic, anxiety, all those things. And his wife, his sister was also there up till 12.
Okay, so you were saying this, that Sushant wasn't a victim, Sushant was a participant. Mamta Kale, this was all a ring which was procuring drugs on Sushant's request. Then I have a simple question. Why did Riya Chakraborty say that I was trying to get Sushant to quit when her own brother was introducing Samuel Miranda to drug peddlers? Are you saying that Riya was saying, hey, Sushant, you should quit drugs, and then Showik was saying, I'll get drugs? Mr. Balakrishnan, now explain. Okay. Sushant was the one consuming drugs. Sushant was the one seeking drugs. But then why did Riya say, I was trying to get Sushant to quit when her own brother is procuring drugs?
See, I am not going to go back what Riya has made a statement, okay? I am coming to Sushant.
You are defending her now. If you have defended everything she said so far, then you explain her actions to me. You explain her words to me. You are saying, you are sitting here defending Riya, saying that she is being vilified and there's a witch hunt. I have a simple question based purely on facts, based on what she herself has said. Today, you've got Showik Chakraborty arrested saying, I got drugs on the behest of Riya Chakraborty. Please explain to me why Riya Chakraborty said, Sushant was the one habituated, I was trying to get him to quit. Please tell me, how does one explain this? Sundar
Absolutely. Padmaja, one thing, let me tell you. Now, she has asked me, it's a question for me, right?
Yes, go on, Mr. Balakrishnan.
Yeah, see, Padmaja, I am telling you, see, nobody is supporting. I am telling you from the logical point of view. The logical point of view is, if you are saying that Sushant was fed, I am saying it is also possible that he was also into this activity. He was also addicted to it, where there are lot of public,
Sir, you are not answering my question, Mr. Balakrishnan. You are going round and round in circles. The only thing you have said conclusively, Rajiv Pandey, only thing Mr. Balakrishnan is saying conclusively without giving any explanation is that Sushant asked for the drugs. Sushant asked for the drugs. Okay, Sushant asked for the drugs. Then Riya should have just said it. Listen, he had a habit. He had a habit. And as somebody who was, his friend, I was his partner, I just got my brother to give him the drugs. Period.
Padmaja ji, this is laughable. Anybody will understand. The whole case is that the family of Sushant who has filed a case in which they have made allegation against Riya Chakraborty and all. And these all forms part of the allegation that he was trying to be controlled by these people by any means. And they were trying to loot him. That is the case, if you see. And finally, all the agencies are zeroing in. This drugs angle, now the arrests have taken place. ED has already investigated. Mr. Balakrishnan may be thinking that CBI is not going to do anything. In my opinion, CBI will also go ahead and finally file charge sheet. Whether it is abatement of suicide or it is a murder, that issue I cannot say. But what, as a lawyer, I feel then 100% CBI is going to make out a case against these people, whatever is the truth. The issue is today, under 21, minimum
Rahul Ishwar, important point Rajiv Pandey is making. This was an effort to control Sushant. The family has been saying all this while. He was being given drugs, maybe against his will.
I just give it. We don't know that yet. And please remember, nothing in the WhatsApp chat has suggested so. 3 agencies are inquiring, and 3 agencies are inquiring from 3 different angles. Rahul is a Supreme Court inquiry, it is a serious inquiry.
We've got fresh visuals coming in. Deepesh Sawant brought in by 5 officials of the NCB. They have ran inside. He's been brought in for cross-examination. This is the big news right now. We've got Vajiullah joining us live on this story. We'll also get Tamal in just a bit. Tamal is there with us. Tamal, what's happening? What is Deepesh's role? What is he going to be questioned about? Tamal. All right, these are first visuals that you see of Deepesh Sawant. I wonder if we have Tamal with us on the phone line. Yes, Tamal, go on.
Well, Padmaja, the day is far from over. It seems like the Friday is still on, and Dipesh Sawant, in a dramatic turn of events, he was brought by 5 NCB officials, and the NCB officials literally guarded him. They all ran inside. They ran up to the 4th floor, did not even wait for the lift. And it was Dipesh Sawant with his face half covered. He was there at the CBI office. He has now been brought down to NCB building, and this is for the pure reason of cross-examination. Remember, Padmaja, we broke it first on Times Now that Dipesh Sawant, as per sources, had agreed to become an approver in this case, and thus his cross-examination along with Showik Chakraborty and Samuel Miranda would be extremely significant. Why? Because Dipesh Sawant was there inside the house of Sushant Singh Rajput on June 14, the day the body of Sushant Singh Rajput was recovered from the building, from the apartment, under mysterious circumstances. Samuel Miranda had access to the house. Showik Chakraborty had access to the house. And now that Showik Chakraborty has been arrested by NCB along with Samuel Miranda under charges or under sections of NDPS, NCB will now want to re-verify, cross-examine with Dipesh with his statement to understand whether Showik Chakraborty and Samuel Miranda had misused their access to Sushant Singh Rajput, had they brought in drugs inside the house of Sushant Singh Rajput, had they, without the knowledge of Sushant Singh Rajput, given drugs to the late actor.
Which basically means, Tamal, if I'm understanding you right, and I'll take that question to Vajiullah, this is going to make things more difficult for Rhea. If Dipesh turns approver and a household insider, who are the insiders? Samuel Miranda, arrested. If we just look at that WhatsApp group of Team SSR, Samuel Miranda arrested, Showik Chakraborty arrested, Dipesh Sawant turns approver. What happens to Rhea? Vajiullah.
Well, we also spoke to KPS Malhotra, who was just leaving, and we asked him about Rhea Chakraborty, and he clearly said that will take time, but he did not deny anything. He didn't say that she will not be arrested. So this is likely on the cards, and the way we're seeing Showik being arrested, and after that, now Dipesh Sawant also called in, and as we already know, he's turned as an approver. It clearly opens the ambit for Rhea to be next, because Rhea also was in those chats. There were chats with Rhea also with the narcotics, and as we already know, there is some movement happening inside. Somebody has just gone inside. So we will be running inside and seeing what is happening.
Yes, go on. We are following you. Yes, Vajiullah. All right, so there seems to be more movement. You are seeing
Yes. So from what we've learned is Dipesh has gone and running, and the way he went running inside clearly gives you an indication the urgency at which the NCB is working at. The NCB is all kicked in to make sure that the arrests are concrete, and because it's all on the basis of those WhatsApp chats that we've already shown on the channel. These WhatsApp chats are the incriminating evidence, because that is where they speak about the entire drug nexus, the way drugs have been used. And then on our channel itself, we've already shown how drugs have been procured by people and who are the ones involved. So slowly we are seeing NCB kicking in, making sure that the arrest happened. We have just reached the NCB office here right now. This is the NCB office. We have Tamal over here.
Well, that's right. Vaji. Dipesh Sawant is inside. This is the NCB office, and Dipesh Sawant has been taken inside. We broke this story first here on Times Now, that Dipesh Sawant had agreed to become an approver, and we would try and go closer.
This is very chaotic, as you can see.
seeing this.
All right, this is high drama right now at the office of the NCB. Deepesh Sawant brought in and chaos. Yes.
Well, that's right, Padmaja. Dipesh Sawant, the manner in which he was brought in. This is the fourth story of the building of the NCB, and he literally took the stairs to climb up. And the way he has been brought, he had his mask on, and these NCBP officials, around 5 of them, literally guarded him like this, and they all went up to the 4th floor, and the doors have now been shut down.
Well, what do you think? This was an hush-hush affair. They ran in. What do you think was the indication of that?
It is a hush-hush affair, Vajji. We have seen there had been in extensive interrogation of Samuel Miranda and Showik Chakraborty that has happened all through the day. Samuel Miranda was brought around 11 a.m. And Showik Chakraborty was brought inside exactly 11:20, and they waited for the night to begin so that media attention withers down and so that Dipesh Sawant can be brought inside without much attention. Why? Because Dipesh Sawant, we learnt it first, we broke it first. Dipesh Sawant has agreed to become an approver in the case, which means an insider has already spilled out details to CBI, which means we have always been saying that NCB, CBI and Enforcement Directorate together have been doing this investigation for the on the mysterious death of Sushant Singh Rajput. And now NCB has brought Dipesh Sawant to cross-examine the statements of Showik Chakraborty and Samuel Miranda. There had been inconsistencies. They have admitted to have indulged in drug peddling. Now the point remains to be proven, and that point can be established by the statement of Dipesh Sawant if they have brought in drugs inside the house.
And this is very, very significant. This is very, very significant. Stay with me because there's action happening there at the Narcotics Control Bureau office over there. Let me quickly bring in the others who haven't spoken just as yet. Ganesh Hivakar. Here were people closest to Sushant. People who first saw Sushant dead. Most of them arrested. One is turned approver. And this could very well mean that finally we would know, was Sushant given drugs against his will or not? Either way, we'll finally know.
The thing is that there are in the whole chart sequence, whole chart theory, in Riya's chart, in Showik's chart, it's already seen. We've seen that thing. There are already drugs involved in that. But in the Sushant, there is no Sushant's name in the Riya's chart also and the Showik's chart also. There is no Sushant's name. He need a 4 cigarette, but who? It's not mentioned Sushant's name. And in the whole Sushant chart, there is no drug name. At least only once. It's not used drugs word. And the Riya said 2 different things. One time she said in the interview, she gave it in the channel, that she said, I have not used any drugs or whatever. And the other thing is that in the chart, we prove that which you decide, which you select that, because the proof is there, and Riya said the different thing.
All right, Manasvi Thapar. All right, this seems to be a real jinx working in right now. Sundar Balakrishnan, here you have Ganesh Hivakar pointing out that in all the chats, there is not a single point where Sushant himself is involved. Now you've got Rahul Ishwar saying, you're arguing that, well, Sushant was the one who was consuming. But at no point, Mamta Kale, is Sushant actually in the chat. Mr. Balakrishnan,
can you, Padmaja, I want to ask you.
Sushant is an adult.
You have a
Sushant, if he was the one consuming, he could have himself contacted Samuel Miranda and said, listen, I want a doobie. But here you've got all these people around him saying, bring the doobies, get the MDMA, etc. Sundar Balakrishnan.
Yeah, Padmaja, see, these actors and actresses, they don't themselves indulge you all things. They do it through their people. Now, they want to buy, they will send their
I'm sorry to interrupt you, Mr. Balakrishnan, but we've got Mr. KPS Malhotra of the Narcotics Control Bureau. He's the investigating officer with me on the phone right now. Mr. Malhotra, first I want to ask you, what are the sections and for what offences is Showik Chakraborty arrested?
Yeah, good evening.
Good evening.
The case in which Showik, Chakraborty and Miranda Samuel have been arrested, the case was registered under Section 20B along with Section 28 and 29. During investigation, Section 27A was also added because of some financial trails in the investigation.
So, when you mean financial trails in the investigation, can you please elaborate on that? Does it mean, if I was to paraphrase it for the benefit of the viewer, for the layperson, that this is for consumption and dealing of banned substances, namely drugs?
Yeah, I'll elaborate on Section 27A. When we arrested one of the drug peddler in this case, in which we confiscated cash and foreign currency, the same was the proceed of drug money through the drug trafficking. So that's how the Section 27A came into operation in this case.
So was Showik Chakraborty involved in drug peddling?
There is no term in NDPS which says drug peddling or user. The offences are covered under usage, consumption, transportation, and other logistics. So there is no term which we can differentiate between a peddler and a user.
Okay, sure enough. You're saying that this is about the consumption and the transportation. In layperson's language, perhaps we could call it drug peddling. But more importantly, what about Rhea Chakraborty? We are learning from our sources that the phone of Rhea Chakraborty has been cloned, and also there some information has been recovered. Can you please tell us if that is correct? And if yes, what is the nature of the contents that have been recovered from Rhea's phone, sir?
As far as the future course of investigation is concerned, I'll just be not be in a position to share those. But what has happened so far, we have arrested Miranda Samuel and Showik Chakraborty, and further linkages are under probe. So the steps as per the decision will be taken, which are logical and which are legal.
Was Showik Chakraborty instrumental in getting drugs into the Sushant Singh Rajput household?
Yes, as per the interrogation and corroborative evidence, there is an element of that question which you have asked.
All right, that's very, very important. Showik Chakraborty was instrumental into getting drugs into the SSR household. It is being confirmed. Was it at the behest of or with the knowledge of Rhea Chakraborty, sir?
That is still a matter of investigation, so I'll not be in a position to comment on this question.
All right. Deepesh Sawant is currently at the NCB office. What is his role? Is he an approver or is he an accused? Or is he under investigation?
The matter is under questioning. He's called for questioning. The status of approver or the status of accused are a little later stages, can be given as later stages of investigation. As of now, he has just been called for questioning, and he was given a summon under appropriate section of NDPS. So that's why he is here.
What about Samuel Miranda's role? What is his offence?
Samuel Miranda was Samuel Miranda and Showik, they have similar roles as per our investigation, as per the parameters or ingredients of NDPS.
Sir, I'm going to ask you very bluntly, because a lot of people are arguing that perhaps all of this, you've confirmed that drugs were brought into the SSR household by Showik Chakraborty along with Samuel Miranda. Was it done at the request of Sushant Singh Rajput? What did he know?
As far as that question is concerned, it will be very tough to answer, as those evidences and the corroborated statements which we have got, they were getting the drugs, but whose approval and all that is still a matter of investigation, and they have just been questioned for last 10 hours. We need more time to uncover the real facets of this investigation.
All right, that is massive. Thank you very much, Mr. KPS Malhotra, Deputy Director of the Narcotics Control Bureau, speaking first and exclusively 2 times now on the big arrests that have happened today. Thank you very much. And this is going to be a long night, because even as we speak, Deepesh Sawant is at the office of the NCB in Mumbai. There is no walking away from this, Mamta Kale. Everyone. And you have the officer, the investigating officer of the NCB saying on record, Showik brought drugs into Sushant's house.
Absolutely, Padmaja. We've got it from the horse's mouth, and what else would we want to know about this case and the role of Showik, Rhea, Samuel, Miranda and Dipesh Sawant. You know, it is sad to see few people still standing alongside Rhea Chakraborty, supporting her in spite of knowing her these narcotics trails, and she being the major suspect, main accused of the SSR's mysterious death. I call these people so what and big deal brigade. You know, so what if Mumbai Police didn't do anything? So what if Mumbai Police didn't lodge an FIR? So what if Mumbai Police didn't call Rhea Chakraborty? So what if such a things are coming out? And big deal if Rhea Chakraborty, is it a big deal for them that Rhea Chakraborty was dealing with narcotics? Her brother was part of it.
Manasvi Thapar is smiling. Manasvi Thapar is smiling. He probably thinks it's a usual thing. What's the big deal? These are just drugs. As somebody said, everyone does it. Everyone does it. It's very common. Manasvi Thapar.
Padmaja ji, it is not about smiling or not smiling. What is amusing here is no one stands with Rhea, no one stands with anyone who is guilty. What is the question is, Indian presumption of law works on innocent until proven guilty. So that is the presumption of law. So what was happening right now and what was happening in the past and what is happening right now is right now towards, we are marching towards a clear investigation. 3 top-notch agencies are investigating. One is investigating.
The problem here is
Sir, we are marching towards an investigation because we have brought out facts and we have brought out chats. And when those facts were being brought out, you called it a witch hunt and a media trial. Now that arrests have happened, you are saying we are marching. There is a cost to this marching. The marching is because facts were put out.
Obviously, when facts were put out, there is no doubt about facts being put out. What was in doubt was when speculation was happening. There were opinions being created.
What is speculation? We have never indulged in speculation. We put out facts. We have put out facts, sir. And now you've heard. Now we have heard the Narcotics Control Bureau, no less Rajiv Pandey, saying that Showik Chakraborty brought in. There couldn't be anything more conclusive. The NCB is saying Showik got drugs. And we still have to hear from Rhea Chakraborty why she said, I have never done drugs. I have no contact with drugs. Nobody I know does any drugs. How does this explain it?
This case of NCB will crack the case about the mysterious death of Sushant Singh Rajput also. The whole allegation against them,
not only crack that,
for the allegation of suicide,
tip of the iceberg.
I will tell you one thing, sir, one thing. Sometimes a thief is arrested for theft and later on it comes back, he is a murderer. You just listen to me, sir. What I am trying to tell you, right now you all were saying till yesterday that NCB is doing nothing, CBI is doing nothing, ED is doing nothing. Now NCB has taken action. 2 people are already arrested and maybe we don't know what is going to happen with Deepesh Sawant. I am saying give some time. You should congratulate news channel like Times Now that because of their consistent effort, the case which
Rahul
is going to be declared as
Rahul Ishwar.
What you are trying to say is
everyone in this nation is appreciating of war on drugs, but the only open sequence is how much can we collect war on drugs to the Sushant I am saying Rhea Chakraborty, as per her own statement, she came just 1.5 years back in the life of Sushant Singh Rajput. She is bringing her brother for supplying drugs. Her father as an advisor of the financial affairs. Her mother advisor of home affairs. What is this? This is an open in my opinion.
Sir, it will be done. Don't worry about it, Mr. Thapar, because Mr. Radhakrishnan 1 month ago was saying, "Kuch bhi nahi hai. This is a wild goose chase." Now 6 arrests have happened. Not 1, not 2, not 3. 6 arrests have happened. And don't worry about it. That investigation will be cracked wide open, Mr. Radhakrishnan.
Yeah, so that's what
wide open.
Padmaja, Mumbai Police is compared with Scotland Police.
But now the CBI is investigating the case, ED is investigating the case, and the Narcotics Control Bureau is doing their duty. All these things are happening in Maharashtra. Some actress, one actress, Kangana, she compares Mumbai to Pak-occupied Kashmir. What is this?
Sir, you leave that. No, I am asking you the question. Yeah, arrests are happening. You are stuck in POK.
Yes,
you tell me about the arrests which have happened right now. People are being arrested even as we speak. Even as we speak, Deepesh Sawant is being interrogated at the NCB office. Rhea Chakraborty is going to be summoned on Sunday. We have broken details of the kind of contents that have been recovered from her phone. Why are you trying to sidetrack the entire debate? Don't sidestep the debate. I have a simple fact-based question from you.
Let me come to you. See, the thing is that all the media is trying to deviate the attention of the people to some other place. See, what is the role of the police, Maharashtra police there? Now the agent...
don't talk about Maharashtra police. We have seen within 48 hours...
Mr. Radhakrishnan, if you are trying to suggest that the NCB is arresting Showik Chakraborty to deviate attention of the people, then Ganesh Hivakar, इससे ज़्यादा बेवकूफ़ी की बात, I'm sorry to say, कुछ भी नहीं हो सकती है. मतलब यहाँ पे अरेस्ट हो गए, शौविक चक्रवर्ती ने कबूले जुर्म कर लिया है और यहाँ पर जो शिवसेना के समर्थक है वो कह रहे हैं कि ये ध्यान भटकाने की कोशिश की जा रही है. मतलब ध्यान भटकाने के 1000 चीजें हो सकती हैं. आप 7 लोगों को उठा के जेल में डाल देंगे ध्यान भटकाने के लिए.
ये ऐसा नहीं है. Please listen. The whole panel listen first. Yesterday the one new name is involved in that, the Banti Satdeva. Hello.
Go on, Ganesh. Don't pay attention to Mr. Radhakrishnan. He doesn't have anything to say. People have been arrested. So now he's just going to go on and on about media or media kya kar rahi hai. Go on, Ganesh. Yes.
He is Sohail Khan's wife's brother, and he is also the boss of company where Disha was working. And there is a big industry people are involving in that drugs matter. But I suggest that CBI को बुलाना चाहिए सबसे पहले कंगना रनौत को, because she knows everything in the drugs matter. उसको सब पता है. Even in fact, I am working in the choreography field. I know in the green room who is the celebrity will smoke करते हैं, drink, snack करते हैं and drugs लेते हैं. सो कंगना को तो बहुत अच्छे से पता है ये सारी चीज. अगर वो खुद से आके बोल रही है कि मुझे यहाँ बुलाइए, मैं आपको नाम बताती हूँ, आपको सपोर्ट करती हूँ, तो पहले उनको वहां से बहुत सारी चीजें खुल जाएगी. सो ये ड्रग्स वाला एंगल एकदम इमीडिएटली जैसे
नहीं, ड्रग्स वाला एंगल बेशक इन्वेस्टिगेट होना चाहिए, पर इससे सुशांत का मर्डर क्या सॉल्व हो पाएगा ममता काले? और इज एवरीवन गोइंग टू एंड अप being stuck at a drug investigation? क्या सब चीजें यहीं पे खत्म हो जाएंगी? ममता काले.
बिल्कुल नहीं होगा पद्मजा. इससे जो मिस्टीरियस सर्कमस्टांसेस में डेथ हुई है SSR की, वो एक्सप्लेन होगा, वो सॉल्व होगा. End of the day, I want to talk about that girl called Rhea Chakraborty, who's accused number 1 in this case. She had said with a plain face, with full confidence, that I am not involved in drugs, I don't even take it. In fact, I was trying to get Sushant out of it. And then we get to read these chats through your channel. You guys have done a commendable job, where she is asking her brother to get drugs for Sushant Singh Rajput, and now she's somewhere she said that I was doing it because SSR asked me to do it. You think that we are fools? The Indian people are fools? Sushant didn't have a smartphone, he didn't know English, couldn't he was not aware of using WhatsApp. He could have asked for drugs for himself if he needed. I mean, why?
Rahul Ishwar, and I have a very simple question, and we have listed 5 ways, Rahul Ishwar. The thing is very simple. Somebody makes a categorical statement and then is proven to be false. Rhea Chakraborty said nothing to do with drugs. Now her brother is behind bars. Brother allegedly said it was done at Rhea's behest. Everything else that she has said is put under a big cloud, Rahul Ishwar. That is the biggest outcome.
Everything should be scrutinized and re-scrutinized. But please remember...
So when the family of Sushant says that Sushant was being drugged against his will, that also gets more credence, doesn't it? The claim that Sushant may have been drugged does get credence. Because one claim is belied, another claim gets substance.
June 8, Rhea Chakraborty leaves the house.
Next, Mr. Rahul Ishwar, was Rhea giving SSR 4 boon zindagi ke? Was Rhea giving SSR 4 boon zindagi ke? Or was she spiking his drink with cocaine and LSR? And you justify it. Come on, have a heart. How can you do this? The whole nation is watching you. You can't be standing with the drug peddlers and saying that what they have done is absolutely right.
Or either collect Rhea
How about Riya's unexplained property in Mumbai? Where did she get so much money from to buy those properties? Was that Sushant's money, or did she get that money through this drug peddling, drug business?
You know, something that everyone is ignoring and one wants to keep underlining it, Rajiv Pandey, and I want to bring in Manasvi Thapar on this as well. Don't forget that these drugs were not only bought with the knowledge and at the request of Rhea Rajiv Pandey, but the money for that went from her cards.
Hey, that's what I'm saying. In one of the chats, it has come clearly that she is telling another person that give 2-3 drops and then in 30 minutes it will hit or it will make him high. I am saying if you add these things, that how her card was used and then how she was administrating that drug on Sushant Singh Rajput, then the allegation of the family member against the prime accused as well as all other people will be proved in the courts of law. If these chats are not disputed, and you just add these 2 chats, one that his brother is buying drugs, his brother is paying through the credit card of Rhea Chakraborty, and Rhea Chakraborty is telling another person how to use that drug. On Sushant.
So you ask for drugs, you pay for drugs, you get your brother to get the drugs, you ask about kaise drugs dene hai, and yet you say I had no idea.
Padmaja ji, the drug angle, the money angle, murder or suicide angle, are they independent or are they interlinked? Are yet to be investigated.
Rajiv Pandey says they are interlinked. Rajiv Pandey says they are interlinked.
See, I would trust the investigating authorities and not what Rajiv Pandey ji would say. He have a belief. He may believe that. I don't. Rajiv ji, please don't speak in between. I will never speak in between when you speak. If you want to speak during my turn also, you are most welcome. I'll be quiet.
NCB came into investigation. Just see, sir.
Rajiv ji,
I am just asking 3 lines. His father filed a case in Bihar, which is later on transferred to CBI. After that case, you know, ED cannot start investigating until there is an FIR. So there was an FIR, ED came in picture. When ED came in picture, chat came in the light, and that chat reveals that there was a use of drugs. And now the link is clear. So all these 3 cases are one case, in my opinion. Though 3 different charge sheets will be filed.
And you know, just a second. Remember, it was first here on Times Now that we broke about the arrest of Showik Chakraborty and the charges against him, the sections under which he has been arrested, and what was his involvement. Confirmed first on Times Now. Hear it from the investigating officer himself. Listen. Mr. Malhotra, first I want to ask you, what are the sections and for what offences is Showik Chakraborty arrested?
Yeah, good evening. The case in which Showik Chakraborty and Miranda Samuel have been arrested, the case was registered under Section 20B along with Section 28 and 29. During investigation, Section 27A was also added because of some financial trails in the investigation.
So, when you mean financial trails in the investigation, can you please elaborate on that? Does it mean, if I was to paraphrase it for the benefit of the viewer, for the layperson, that this is for consumption and dealing of banned substances, namely drugs?
Yeah, I'll elaborate on Section 27A. When we arrested one of the drug peddler in this case, in which we confiscated cash and foreign currency, the same was the proceed of drug money through the drug trafficking. So that's how the Section 27A came into operation in this case.
This has thrown the investigation wide open. Big arrests being made today. Sunday is going to be a very important day as well. Rhea Chakraborty is going to be before the NCB. You know where you have to be to catch all the news. Right here on Times Now. For the time being, thank you very much, all gentlemen and Mamta Kale, for having joined me. Thanks for watching.